Hello, 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 and welcome. You are here with us yet again for another broadcast of Pain in the Pews, Mental Health and Ministry. I am your host, Chelselia Cookie Payne, founder of PAYNE Glory Incorporated and the administrator of this particular group, this particular initiative, Pain in the Pews, Mental Health and Ministry. Listen, if you didn't already know, if you weren't already aware, the month of October is dedicated to domestic violence awareness and prevention. And if you've been with us for any amount of time, Pain Glory has been around since 2005. So we've been around for a minute. So if you've been around us for any amount of time, you know that the platform on which Pain Glory stands upon is domestic violence awareness and prevention. I myself, being a survivor of domestic violence, I actually started this nonprofit organization with the survivor in mind. And so the month of October is not just domestic violence awareness for us here at Pain and Glory, but the entire 365 days a year is dedicated towards domestic violence prevention and awareness, right? It's important that we know how it impacts us. I'm going to be sharing with you guys in just a moment a few statistics, just to kind of to kind of get you aware of where we are. And as you're coming on, I encourage you, share, share, share. I do want to let you know that the contents of tonight's broadcast may be a bit sensitive for some that are viewing. So please be aware that there may be some sensitive areas. So please be aware of that as you're watching with us. But tonight, listen, this is about helping, healing. This is all about information. This is all about restoration. This is all about hope. Listen, if ever there's a broadcast that we did that is one that shares hope, this is the one. If there's ever one that shares about resilience and about the power of of prayer and how you can still be standing in the midst of what seems like the worst of the worst, this is it. If there ever was a broadcast that we've done, and we've been doing this since April of 2020, this particular coming on live every Monday night, if ever there was a segment where you need to have every female specifically, not that males don't need to listen, hear me clearly, but if there was ever a time where every female that you know needs to tune in, this is the one that you need. The topic on tonight is justice for Malaysia. We're talking about a mother's journey and a daughter's story. And I am, listen, I am honored, and I don't use that term loosely or lightly. I am honored to have Miss Quin Levy with us on tonight. Let me tell you all how I even came to even have Miss Levy on with us on tonight. And trust me when I tell you, it is a tremendous honor. On social media, which can be your friend at times, sometimes, but it on social media, we're part of the same group that deals with domestic violence and domestic violence awareness. And she posted within the site, and her post, now mind you, this is a group, so you all know, if you're familiar with any part of social media or Facebook groups, people post all the time. When you're inside a group, you see different people posting all the time. Takes nothing away from the other people's postings or the other people's stories or any of that. But there was something that was about Miss Quin and her story or her post that stood out to me. And I was like, wow. So I inboxed her. I was like, listen, this I had to inbox her. She didn't know me from Adam's House Cat. She's in Texas. I'm in Atlanta. She didn't know me from Adam's House Cat, but her story was so powerful to me. Her journey was so powerful. It's actually wrapped in one. Her journey and her story is just so powerful. So I want to introduce to you all my guest for tonight, Miss Quin Levy. Thank you so much for Quinn for joining me on tonight.
Thank you for having me and that nice introduction. I appreciate it. I am from Houston, Texas, born and raised. And yes, I did share my story in the group. It's my daughter's story, which automatically came to me upon her death. Um, so I am living this every day. Every day I wake up. Some days are better than others, but every day I make a decision that I'm going to live for her.
Absolutely. So, Quinn, before we jump into, because I really want you to share with our viewers your story, and thank you all who are tuning in on our social media platforms. God bless you for joining in. I want you, Quinn, before you dive into telling Malaysia's story, I want you to share with everyone when this took place, because I want people to understand that the significance of what you're about to share. When did this, and I know the viewing, those that are viewing will find out what this is, but when did this take place?
Um, so August 8th, 2020.
2020.
Mhm.
So for those that are viewing, I want you to take note that I must share with you that for those who are more sensitive, that they're, what we're about to share, what Miss Quinn is about to share, may be a trigger for you. So if you feel that this may be something that may be a trigger for you, please be conscious of that. I want to be cognizant of that. And thank you. I'm seeing your comments. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all. So, Miss Quinn, if you would share with us who Malaysia was to you and her story.
Well, Malaysia is, because she's still my daughter,
There
Malaysia
you,
is my then 19-year-old daughter. When she was killed, she was 19. I'll never forget the day. It was August 8th, 2020. Um, Day started off like any other day. It's really, really nice outside. I have smaller children, so I took my smaller children to the beach, and I get home, and when I get home and I get in the shower, I got a call. And, it was about around 10 o'clock. And I ignored it because they could just call back. I'm in the shower, right?
right.
So they called again. It was Malaysia's dad, actually. And, if you're not with the dad, you're like, the child is grown. You just kind of like, why are they calling me this late at night? Well, because he called back to back like that, I went ahead and I answered the phone. And he said, you'll never believe what somebody just called and told me. And I was like, what? And he said, Malaysia was shot and killed. And I couldn't believe it. I was, the first thing I said was, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. Like, don't say that. And I hung up with him and I called because I already knew the first thing that came to my mind was this boy. So I hung up and I called the boy's mom.
Okay.
And I said, is it true? She said, yes, it's true. And the first thing I said was, after I said, is it true? Was I told her to stay away from over there. I told her to stay from over there. I hung up the phone. I hurried up and I got dressed, made accommodations for my smaller children, and went to the scene. Um,
Was the scene there in Houston with you, or did you have to travel somewhere else?
No, no, it was in Houston. I knew
Okay.
where he lived because they had held her things hostage before, and it was just ongoing drama. And I had to get involved in it. As a matter of fact, I remember telling her, because the mom would be a part of it. She would be like, "Oh no, you can't get your things," and try to give her a hard time. And she would come to me. My daughter would come to me, and expect me to call and get it straightened out.
Right,
Well,
right,
I did that a few times.
right,
And I remember telling Malaysia after the last time I did it that you're going to have to make better decisions because I can't keep getting in the middle of this if you're going to keep going over there and, something happened. I end up getting into it with these people. Now I got to go to jail because they wouldn't give you your things when you could have just stayed from over there because of the history.
right.
But this was her first love, and this was really her first boyfriend, to be honest. That was serious, that I ever met, or and
Mhm.
it was toxic. It was toxic. It was really toxic. When she passed, she had just had a baby. The baby was only 5 weeks old when she was killed, and the baby was in the room.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Um, when I got to the scene, nobody cared about her. Nobody. All that I heard was about him and how he didn't do it. Well, not that he didn't do it; it was an accident. He didn't mean to. Or like the baby. Am I going to stop them from seeing the baby? Nobody cared that my daughter was laying lifeless on the floor.
By the time when you got there, were police on the scene and medical?
It looks like his entire family was there. The police were there. It was taped up. It was a lot of people outside. These people not once called me. Not once did these people call me and say something happened to your daughter. They had my number. How do you think I had her number?
Right,
They never ever called me. And when I got there, they tried to intimidate me, which didn't work because if like I know you have kids,
right,
at that point, it's nothing you can do to me.
right,
It's nothing
right,
more that you can do. So I really don't care about the threats or the intimidation at this
right,
point. My daughter is gone,
right, right,
and there was different stories said, and um, first story was she was playing with a gun. My daughter would never play with a gun,
right.
never.
And
Then
essentially
there
a
was he was
5-week-old
trying
baby.
right. Then there was he was trying to give it. She was trying to give it to him, and it went off. And then there was he was trying to put the safety on, and it went off. Mind you, she was shot in her neck, between her neck and her, like her clavicle, around her clavicle.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Um. So it doesn't make sense
Didn't add up. Right.
at all. Um. And it was toxic, and he supposedly was standing up, and she supposedly was standing up. Well, he's not towering over her, so it just doesn't add up. But I don't want to go too much into that because there is an active trial,
Active. Yes. Yes.
and we plan to pursue it until the end. I will get justice for my daughter, and she will be
Absolutely.
remembered.
Absolutely. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to, as I told you when we first met via social media, that I wanted to share your story, even if it's on my platform. I wanted to make sure that your story is heard as much as possible. And if I could help do that, I wanted to do that. Um, I want to go back to something you said that was very key. Um, because as I told you on our phone call, your story is so similar to mine. But not getting into that, I really want to go back into something you said, which is it was toxic. And this being her first real relationship, and it was toxic. Could you kind of for any, not just parents, you know what I'm saying, but sometimes it's friends, who are not 19 years old, but there are people who have friends and loved ones who, you know, there are toxic relationships that are happening. What did you see?
Um, a lot of manipulation,
Mhm. Mhm.
using her,
Mhm.
verbal abuse, mental abuse, um, social media. What do they call it? Social media abuse. Going on social media,
Mhm.
going on lives,
Mhm.
trying to humiliate her, having people inbox her, telling her things, sending videos of him sleeping with other little girls to her phone. Um, just having other, just creating mess, just stuff that somebody that does not love you would do. And
And that
then
that's very
when
prevalent. What you said about the social media, that is very prevalent. The gaslighting and going on social media, and that is definitely a form of abuse. And I don't know that people really comprehend that is definitely a form of abuse, especially now. I mean, especially now.
if I wish that we had the stats on how many people commit suicide because they've been trolled on social media, it's horrible. It's terrible. And it's not always related to, well, that is abuse, but this guy went on a live. There were people, I know people killed themselves. I've heard several stories about people killing themselves because of people commenting on their situations, or, just saying things that they know nothing about, that
Right,
they absolutely know nothing about.
right.
Um, but I all but beg. I did beg my daughter to leave this
Mhm.
boy alone.
Mhm.
Um, I was
Mhm.
not aware of him putting hands on her physically. Um, but I also don't think that that is something that she would share with me.
Right. I hear you.
Because, like I said, when they tend to want to protect them, she loved him even though he didn't love her. And I always say, growing up as little girls, we are like brought up in this society where we watch all these Disney movies and we think that we're going to meet a prince, live
Mhm.
happily ever after, and run off into the sunset. And although, some people do end up being with their high school sweethearts and it works out, it's not the only way that it's done. And life is
Right.
not over if
Right.
it doesn't work out.
If
There
it
are
doesn't work out,
of
right.
single mothers, yes.
Right. And then, but you know what? Another key component, and I speak from experience, another key component is one that you brought up that is so key, and that is that spirit of manipulation. It's not always so much love as it, or it may be perceived as love, but what that emotion actually is the fear and intimidation and the manipulation of the individual, and it's that's a powerful stronghold that is difficult to break free from.
Yeah,
Difficult.
manipulation is dangerous.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
dangerous.
yeah. Manipulation is dangerous.
If people will manipulate you, you just gotta wonder like what else they're capable of.
Right,
Because especially using love, well, if you love me, then you'll do this. Like
right, right,
one doesn't have to do with the other.
right.
It's important to have boundaries, and I'm just sad because it's not like we all haven't, lived and learned, been in love and been
Yeah,
hurt,
yeah.
and we learned from it and we grew from it and we went on. Um, but it just saddened me that she didn't get a chance to live and learn.
Learn.
You know
Right,
what I
right,
mean? It
right,
was someone got angry and they could not control themselves, and that is no accident. Unleashed anger and your inability to control yourself,
right,
it's no accident. It's a
right.
problem.
It's a problem. It's a problem, and I love the fact that even though you said and you knew that there's some things that Malaysia may not have told you, the fact that you were open for her to, because I again I'm going to speak from experience. I I didn't I was afraid to say something and I'll share with you when in our conversation. I was afraid that of what would happen to my family if they found out, what they would do if they found out. Not that I was afraid of my family, I was afraid for my family. And it's a good thing that you said you have other children, that you are still mama. You know what I'm saying? That you're not disconnected and you're still mama. and they can come to you, and whether you understand it all, because none of us do. No, there was no thumb drive that they gave us and we put in and we like, oh, we got it, we understand
Yeah.
everything. But you are still mama, and and that I appreciate. I think, like, again, going back to your post, like, you, and I said this to you off air, you are not just an advocate, because a lot of times people are put in situations where they become an advocate, which is great. Life does that. We become, the things that we go through, the challenges that we experience, put us in a position where we can speak for those who can't speak for themselves. We can be uh, one that can help those who, through the healing process. But you, as I said earlier to you, your voice is different because you see things differently. I like how you not only see things from the eyes of a mama, but you also see things from in the eyes of a woman who is spiritual and who sees things in the spirit, as well as seeing things, you know, from the judicial side, for lack of a better way to put it. I know that there are certain things that we're not going to say on this live.
Right.
We're just not going to do it. But I do applaud you for giving voice to this. I applaud you for giving voice to this because it's necessary. My daughter is 32, but whether she is 22, 12, 32, 42,
Your baby.
you know what, right? And there's no limit on when she can come to me.
Hmm.
Your granddaughter now, how old is she now? She's a
She,
year, right?
well, she's over a year now. She's about 17 months.
7. Okay, I was trying to do the numbers out real quick in my head.
Yeah, and I may be off. After we just say 1, 2. So
That
then when you
right,
get, yeah.
right, right. But she has an excellent example. She really does. She has an
Thank
excellent
you.
example. Yeah.
Well, I try to, like, I used to be 19.
Right,
Um,
right,
I
right,
wasn't always, you know, the age I am now.
right,
Uh, but it's nothing new under the sun.
right,
It's all the same. It's
right.
just different levels of it, and people are at different places. And right now, we are seeing more broken. I want to say men, but I use that loosely. Um, they haven't. They're very emotional, and they haven't come up at the same time. It was happening when I was young, but not at the rate that is happening now. It's happening a lot now. So I'm very realistic with my children,
Yeah.
because I feel like to be dishonest with them would be me contributing to their failure.
Mm,
They need to know, what's really going on,
right.
and so that they can be equipped.
Exactly.
But the
Exactly.
problem is, these younger adults, a lot of them are not listening. They want to do it their way, and I don't carry guilt because
Good.
we had those conversations.
Good.
I tried. I really tried. I prayed. I wrote a letter. Sometimes I write my prayers.
Right. Yeah.
And the week before that happened, I actually had wrote a prayer in my journal about that situation with my
Wow.
I
Wow.
spoke to family members. Everybody knew that I didn't like the situation.
Okay.
And they just felt like, yeah, but she's young. You just have to let her learn. And I remember saying to myself, because my grandmother always told me that we all make mistakes, we just pray that they don't cost us much. And I
Mm,
prayed, Lord, don't let this cost her too much. And
wow.
I never would have thought. I never would have thought. And I mean, I knew that he was a bad guy, but I didn't see that coming.
Right.
I didn't see that coming. So, but in order to keep myself here, and I truly have to give glory to God because He has been my strong tower.
Yes.
He has been keeping me. I could not have done this when you don't have nothing else. You have your faith.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know that we're all passing through, and this is not our home. Period.
Yes,
I've
ma'am.
never seen anybody that lived forever. Have you?
Not even. No, ma'am.
Nobody. So we'll see each other again. But am I sad? Am I hurt? Am I angry? Yes, because her life was cut short. I didn't get
Absolutely.
to enjoy my daughter as my friend.
Right.
My daughter was just becoming an adult, and I didn't get to go from the teacher to the counselor.
Right. I
You know,
hear you.
those
Yeah.
are the times that you long for those times. You like to see the fruit of your labor. You know,
Yeah.
you want to
Yeah.
be able to just give your daughter, your children advice and watch them make, grown decisions and grow and blossom and see what
Right.
kind of parent they're going to be and what
Right.
they're going to do. Like, that's rewarding. And
Right.
it was stolen from me.
Right.
And
Right.
it's not fair. And it's so unnecessary. I just,
Very unnecessary.
so that is why I have a passion to say, um, it will not be in vain.
It will not be in vain. I wanted to share some statistics. You actually touched on a few of them. I just want to just kind of go back and reiterate. This is from the National Center Against Domestic Violence. I'm just going to share a few things. You're right. There really aren't concrete statistics on people who die by suicide, based on the bullying that takes place on social media. There are statistics, but they are ever changing, ever changing. But just so that our viewers kind of get a bird's eye view, I'm not going to read all of these, but so that you guys can wrap your mind around what we're talking about. It says here, on average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. It goes on to say that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence, partner contact, sexual abuse, and/or intimate partner stalking, such as injury. Let me skip down a little bit. There was a couple more I wanted to. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. 1 in 7 women and 1 in 25 men have been injured by an intimate partner. What? Let me skip that one. Let me skip that one. I don't want to. That's a little. On a typical day, it says here there are more than 20,000 phone calls placed to domestic violence hotlines. 20,000. Ugh. And the presence of a gun in a domestic violence situation increases the risk of homicide by 500%. That's that's amazing. By five, I mean that percentage doesn't even seem real, but it is. It's that is that and this is 2021. I'm looking at the date. So this is 2021. So that we already know that during the pandemic 2020 and 2021, the amount of domestic violence calls, the amount of domestic violence instances calls, whether they were reported or not, grew and expanded exponentially during the pandemic. For whatever reason, that well, I'm not going to speculate, and I'm not, and specifically because you have an ongoing case, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, because it could be misunderstood.
Mhm.
But I will say this: domestic violence is not to be taken lightly. One thing that you said that I want people to hear clearly what you said, that you do not know of him being physically violent with her, that you know of, aside from obviously the taking of her life. However, you made a very valid point when you talked about the 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 narcissism and the social media stalking and the social media abuse, and the gaslighting that he was doing, and the bullying that he
Hmm.
was doing, the manipulation that he was doing, that plays a huge part, especially when you're talking about you shared a beautiful picture of Malaysia. It was a pregnancy picture of her, especially when you're dealing with a young woman who's dealing with a pregnancy. Hormones are already uh, we already know. We know that hormones are already crazy. And then after you said 5 weeks, that her newborn was 5 weeks, so those hormones are still trying to get readjusted. She is still 19, so her brain is still developing. So so there's a lot at play when it comes to self-esteem, when it comes to knowing how to properly defend yourself in an instance where someone is manipulating you. And I want to be clear about this for those who are viewing. This has absolutely nothing to do with the support system that she had at her home. Literally nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with how a person was able to manipulate and get and harm her emotionally. So whether or not she had, her mother could be a psychologist, psychiatrist, preacher, pastor, elder, deaconess. She could have been all of those in one, and it
Yeah.
really would not have made a difference. In the
No.
instance of what I'm saying is the support system was there,
Hmm.
but when a person has manipulated a person's mind, that goes out the window. It really does.
Yeah. I mean, literally, you cannot make another grown person do anything. You cannot make a grown person do anything. And I always tell people trying to take on problems that are not theirs, that only God can change the heart of man. You cannot change someone's heart. You
Hmm.
can give them advice. You can talk to them till they're blue in the face. You can take them to your house. You can give them somewhere to stay. If they want to go, they're going to go.
This is so true.
And it's
This is so
nothing
true.
that we can do about it but pray.
But pray.
And sometimes
Yep.
it goes good and sometimes it goes not so good, but I am convinced that there's always a reason for that.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you are right. Not only did he do all those things, he also, when she would block him, because she did try to, pull away,
Hmm.
he would um he would blow her phone up, and
Wow.
he would call from different numbers. He would get on apps and make up numbers and call nonstop, like harassing her till he got through to talk to her, to tell her whatever it was that he wanted to tell her, so he can get whatever he needed to get, and then the next, soon as he get it, switch up, be the monster again.
See, I want you to stop right there. I need people to hear what you're saying. I need people to understand this person went through great lengths to be horrible.
Hmm.
This person went he through back doors, so to speak, in the internet world. He went through great lengths to literally be a bad person and targeted her. So I wanted people to hear what you were saying. Not only, I don't want people to think, well, she took his phone call. No, no. You literally just said she had blocked him and he found a way around
Hmm.
that.
Yep.
He would blow up her phone, she would ignore it. He found a way to go around that. And once he'd accomplished what he wanted to accomplish, then and that's what the enemy does. The enemy, that's literally Satan's job. Literally.
Hmm.
To circumvent all things that make sense to get accomplished what he wants to get accomplished. And once he's done, he leaves the damage. He leaves the the
Yeah.
the backlash until the next time.
Hmm.
He
They lure you in.
kill and destroy. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to cut you off, but I wanted people to hear what you were saying. Like I wanted people to actually hear that it's not just one just He called, she picked up, no, no, no. Went through great lengths to disguise himself to in by different accounts and phone numbers just to antagonize her.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's sick. People that do it, there's some serious, they have some problems.
Right.
And um, we just can't have it. It has to be stopped.
True.
It has to be stopped. People need to know what the warning signs are. People need to pay attention. People need to take them seriously. It's not cute. It's not funny. It's dangerous. They're playing with fire.
Absolutely. You said something just now. It's not cute and it's not funny, because a lot of times, especially when you see um, young women who are in high school, some and in college, where behaviors that we know, looking from the outside in, we know and we see look toxic. He wants to check your phone all the time, or he's
Mhm.
all he's you know being rough with you, or calling you all kinds of names, and doing all kinds of things that are the signs, like you said, all these different signs. And but he loves me. He's just doing that because he's jealous. And they think that being jealous is cute.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a part of the issue as well. We misconstrue what love is.
Right,
Um, it's not
right,
love if it's tearing you down. It's
right.
not love. Why would anyone want that? And again, so many women think that they can change. I can just love him harder and he'll change. Only way he'll change is if he wants to change. And if
Exactly,
he's telling you that he wants to change, but he's not showing you that, then he doesn't really want to change. He just wants to tell you what you want to hear so that you can stay around and he can continue to use you.
exactly, exactly. And it's unfortunate that you know that lesson is hard learned. That lesson is hard learned. So, as again, for those who may have joined us a little later, after Miss Quinn has shared with us, her daughter Malaysia was taken from her. Literally, she was shot and killed, and this was not years ago. This was last year, last September of 2020. And this is a message that we want to make sure that I wanted to make sure that Quinn got on here and shared that this is not something new, but it is something that needs to be stopped. This is not Malaysia's story is not unique, but I promise you, her journey her story needs to be one of the last ones.
Mhm.
I promise you, Quinn is not the only mother that is suffering a loss, but I promise you, she needs to be one of the minorities of ones that are experiencing something like this. So if you have heard anything that has been said on the night, I hope that you heard that there is hope, that there is help, that keep talking to your family member, loved one. It may not you might not even have a daughter or a loved one, but if you see something that's not quite right, make sure that they at least know that you're a listening ear. You as Quinn said, you can't make a person do anything. And I've gone through several different trainings and heard several different seminars, and I'm sure Quinn you have as well, where they tell you, you can offer, you can give information, but if that person's not ready, they're simply not going to do it.
Right.
You're not going to. But the resources are there. The resources are there. So speaking of that, I want you, Quinn, to tell people about your foundation that you have for your precious daughter.
Yes. So in honor of my daughter, um, for her legacy to live on and to prevent other people from having to live this nightmare, of not being able to see your child again, because there are dark days. Um, we created a nonprofit foundation, and it is mainly focused on adolescents and young adults, to for domestic violence prevention and interference. Sorry, that's my daughter. Um, but the goal is to instill something into the youth before they even encounter that, or when they encounter that, they'll recognize that and back away from that. You can love somebody and leave them alone. I can love you from a distance.
Come on now.
If you are disturbing my peace, I don't. I don't listen. I love you, but I cannot with you. We. I'm not saying be selfish, but there has to be self preservation.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
You
ma'am.
can't help anybody if you are tore up. You cannot. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you don't deserve to have to deal with whatever that person is dealing with, because at the end of the day, you can't fix it. Whatever you
You
can
can't.
do it and say, here he go. You know, I just wanted to give that because I cared, or I said that, and then walk away. You don't have to enthrottle yourself in their tornado. That's
Right.
not your battle. That's
That's
not your
good.
battle.
That's
So
good.
we can't save people. We're not Jesus.
Right. That's
So
good.
just keep that in mind. And we want to prevent it from happening. Yes, we will help people that are in situations if they
Right.
are serious. One of the
Right.
requirements for that is a police report. I want to see a paper. Even if you go back, people say, well, they'll just go back. Well, now there's a paper trail.
Now
So
there's a
even if
paper
they go
trail.
back,
Yeah.
there's a paper trail.
Right.
So, yeah, it's called the M. Ariel Love Foundation. We are on Facebook on a social media page, and we have a website, which is www.mariellovefoundation.com. And I also have the Justice for Malaysia pages on Instagram and Facebook, where I share different things along my journey. I write to my daughter. It's something that I need to do. According to my therapist, it's very healthy, and
It is. Oh
she's just,
yeah.
she thinks, oh, you are so awesome because you're doing so great. But I truly, truly, truly give all the glory to God, because I thought I would have died had something like this happened. And my family and all the support has been wonderful. God has sent people to me to help me through this, and I'm just so appreciative. I could be angry, I could be hurt, I could throw in the towel, but if I do that, the enemy wins, and
Exactly.
he gets everybody for one, and I can't let it happen. I refuse.
That's right. Refuse. And like you said, and we've said on tonight, justice will prevail. Justice for Malaysia. So listen, those of you who are watching, you see here that Justice for Malaysia. You can find that on. You can follow that on social media, as well as please go to her website. I'm seeing the comments that are coming in. There was one, Quinn, that I wanted to read off to you, and I'll put it up on the screen right now. And I think it shares the sentiment of quite a few of us that are mothers. And it says, thank you for sharing your story, Miss Quinn. I have a daughter, and I'll be sharing your daughter's story with my daughter. May God continue to be your strength. I think that you I know that you are making an impact. I know that your story, just like I told you, your story, there was something about your story within that group that said, I needed to connect with you. You, my dear, are a wonderful, precious jewel. And I know that, like you said, you have little ones, and one just came in and tried to be a part of your broadcast, I guess. But you have a legacy to continue to build upon and continue to be strengthened by. I thank you so much for sharing your journey, your story. I thank you for sharing Malaysia's story. I thank you for sharing your time. And I know that you have people around you that are praying for you and with you. And listen, you have just added to the number of those who are praying with you and for you. That justice will prevail because and you will see it. You will be able to see it, and I'm just grateful for you. I did have one question before we wrap up, because I meant to ask you this earlier, and I think it's important for those of us who have, and I don't just want to say daughters, because I do know that young men are in abusive situations as well, and I do have a 17-year-old son, but I wanted to ask you, how close in age were they? Was he older than Malaysia, or the same age, or
He's younger, to be quite honest. Malaysia graduated high school in 2019.
okay?
Graduated 2020. He had just graduated.
Wow,
So a lot of people like, well, he didn't have a criminal record because they wanted to know like, well, how's he on bond? Well, he didn't have any priors. Well, as soon as he made 18, he committed murder. So he didn't have time to have a record. As soon as he could, he did. He was a
wow,
juvenile before then. So um yeah, he was younger. I mean, it baffled me just talking to her because I remember being young and, we wanted the guys that had the car and,
yeah,
had,
yep,
he
yep,
had a little bit of money. He could take you to the movies and to eat or something.
right,
And he had none of that. And I was confused. And
yeah,
he was abusive and, abusive behavior towards her and
right.
toxic. So I really didn't get it. But, I mean, nobody can tell you who to love.
This is
He
true.
could be, a bum on the street. If you love him, you see something in him that we don't.
That we don't. Absolutely, absolutely. And again, like I said, it's not always love. It's sometimes we think we can fix them, and that
What he did not love her,
oh,
obviously,
well, yeah,
but
yeah.
she seriously did, and or
Wow,
infatuation, and she just hadn't, she was just learning that part.
gotcha.
Either way,
Yeah,
it was totally cut short, just unnecessarily and just senseless, just
right.
really senseless.
And they hadn't been dating long.
No,
Um,
um, they maybe had been dating about 3 months before she got pregnant.
and
And so that was another thing. I'm like, you hadn't even been, like just, and then during her pregnancy, he wasn't dealing with her because he didn't want the baby. It wasn't his. And he had people telling her that he don't want the baby. Why are you trying to have his baby and this and that? Just silly stuff, and
right,
when us as adults, we look at it and we're just like, girl, turn it off. Like, why are you worried about it? Block them, turn it off. Don't,
right, right,
to
right,
us, it's trivial, but to
right.
them, it's
It's
serious.
everything.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's everything. And I ask you those questions because as those who are watching live and watching replay, I know these are questions that they may have for their own family members or have for you, wanting to know. And then it absolutely helps to know that, listen, there's no age limit, there's no there's no particular type of person, socioeconomic. It does not. There is no limit.
And
And
I'm at the place where, a lot of our kids, I don't know, maybe there's some cool parents and maybe I'm just not one. Um but our kids don't like for us to follow them on social media. They don't want to be our friends on
oh
social
yeah,
media. They don't want us to see what they're posting and what's going on, what's going on with them. But it may be that I actually have friends who make fake pages so that they can watch what their kids do on social media. And I
right,
definitely would recommend that because they won't tell us.
right. And then you were so right, especially those that are getting bullied or doing the bullying.
Yeah,
That I think I don't see anything wrong with it. If you don't want me to follow you, then sorry, Sally is about to
right.
follow you.
I mean, it's the only way that you can know. Otherwise, they have these secret lives almost. They go online and they're
Right.
totally different people than what you live with every day,
Exactly,
and you
exactly,
have no.
and then right, and you have no clue that they're being tormented, that they're being taunted, that
Hmm.
they are, like you said, living different lives, that there are photos out there of them that they didn't really want to do, that they didn't really want out there. But because again of manipulation and fear and intimidation and
Right.
peer pressure and all of these other things, because social media is a whole nother beast. you
Hmm.
know these things happen. I applaud the parents who do create the fake pages and go in and see. Listen, we do what we have to do, right? We do what we have to
Right.
do. But again, Quinn, I thank you. I thank you so much. I encourage you all that are joining in, please go over to the MArielLoveFoundation.com website. Please do so if you want to sow into the mission and the purpose of what they're doing there. Please donate. Go on there, hit the donate button on there. Go on Facebook. You will see on Justice for Malaysia. You'll see how to donate there. I want you guys to know that you can connect with this precious family and you can see how to be a blessing to them, right? Because again, as she said, this is an ongoing investigation and they're going to need all the love and support and prayers that they can get. And sometimes that love and support comes in the form of a monetary donation. So it definitely could help. It definitely could help. It certainly couldn't hurt because, listen, you are planting in good ground by being a blessing to this family. Quinn, thank you again so much. And don't click off. We're gonna stay on for a minute. But
Okay.
those of you who have tuned in, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, this whole month of October is dedicated to domestic violence awareness and prevention. On next week, Monday night, we'll be right back. And our guest will be Carolyn Rawls. And next week we'll be talking about there's light at the end of the tunnel. Let me slow down. There's light at the end of the tunnel. We're again going to be talking about domestic violence awareness and prevention. You do not want to miss Carolyn's story. I promise you, you don't want to miss it. Be sure if you're watching live or watching a replay, go ahead and share this with other people, because share it on your social media platforms so other people can hear what Quinn has shared on tonight. Until then, I want you guys to be blessed. We're going to be back on next Monday night, same time, same place. Listen, we're glad you're here, and be safe. Whatever that means for you and to you, be safe. Be safe. Be safe. We'll see you next week. Don't go to work, Quinn.